This is Xander Breach, and this is my weight loss journey part 6. May I remind you, names will not be mentioned in this part due to confidentiality reasons. I'm sure you know from the last 5 parts. And also, my parts relate to some of my lyrics, so please be aware of that as you're listening to the story. And this part 6, and if you are a parent, I'm telling you straight up, this part's for you. I'm going to basically mention punishments my grandmother gave me that you can use for your kid. Okay? So please pay attention closely to this because it's time to get educated. Also, for anyone who goes to church or thinks about going to church for the wrong reasons, this part is for you as well. So, I would recommend, please open your eyes and pay attention because I'm about to educate you. So, back to my grandmother's house. Living with my grandmother had its fun times and its hard times. I gotta say, she really knew how to make punishments. My brother and I had a hard time getting along. Oh, did we? One night, my brother and I got mad at each other, and he wanted to borrow my second Kelly Clarkson CD, the album Breakaway. Well, I shouldn't have mentioned that, but you should know who she is. And he wanted to borrow that CD, and when he did, I was like, no, I want to listen to it because it's my CD. But he recommended that I listen to her first album. So we get into a little fight, and he gets mad and says, no, I'm going to stay in bed with you tonight. I'm like, no. We get into a little spat. We get into a little fight. We're punching each other, and it got really bad. Next morning comes up, I wake up, I tell Grandma about the situation, not knowing my brother had his side of the story. I also had a dental appointment that day that I wasn't looking forward to. So, my grandma came and got me from school, and she was not too thrilled. She had a few things to say about it, and she really got on me about that. But what I didn't know is Grandma had a punishment far, far greater than what I'd ever expected. At that time, what I didn't know is I didn't like that punishment, but it was going to teach me some valuable lessons. So, after the dental appointment, my brother and I got home, and my grandmother's punishment to us, reading about Cain and Abel in the Bible of Genesis. We had to read that story over and over and over again. And I asked my grandmother, how long do we have to read this story? She says, until it gets to your head. Over and over again. Because my brother and I, we always fought, and Cain and Abel related to the way we were. And eventually we read it so much, it got to our head. But that doesn't mean he and I got along. We still had that problem. But with the success, Grandma's idea actually panned out real well. I gotta say, we actually never really fought sleeping in the same bed, or actually we slept in separate beds, but we never really fought after that. And we never gave Grandma much of a hard time like that again, because she used the Bible instead of grounding us. And for that, I have to say, Grandma was a genius. I'm sure most of you parents that are listening to this would agree with me. So, may I remind you, the next punishment my grandmother gave me was the importance of not keeping secrets. My brother gets blessed with money. And being the idiot I was, I decided that my brother should spend it on something else other than helping out. Well, my brother did the right thing. I did the wrong thing. So, for punishment, Grandma didn't like what I did, so I had to sleep on the floor. But what Grandma didn't know is that I was so used to sleeping on the floor, the punishment didn't faze me that much. So, I was actually glad that I was able to have a punishment I was used to. But that could be a good punishment for you parents if your kid does wrong and they're used to sleeping on a bed. You can get them to sleep on a floor and they'll learn real quick the importance of not doing what they did again. So, with that said, I do recall the church I went to was in Tampa. And I'll tell you one thing, going to that church, I don't think I went there for the right reasons. I think I went there to chase after girls and see if I can get a Christian girlfriend. Well, unfortunately, most of them were minors, and considering during that time, I just turned 18, I was lucky to get into the youth class. So, how can I say this? I chased after girls. I said some inappropriate stuff, and I shouldn't have. I would say I was a bad example to this youth program. I would go off topic during movie discussions, and I wouldn't really do what I'm supposed to. And my grandmother pulled me out from going to that church, when really the bright thing to do was maybe not go to the youth program, go to the actual service, you know? So, yeah. If you go to church for the wrong reasons, God knows that. And you can bet on your life you will fall on your face. I'm a church hopper, or was a church hopper. And I'd hop from many different churches, and I'd go to many different ones for the wrong reason. And I learned real quick, if you go for the right reasons, you get something out of it. You go for the wrong reasons, you might as well just kiss every hope you have for getting something out of that church. Goodbye. I mean, you still have hope in prayers, you still have hope in the Bible. But don't go to church for the wrong reasons. It's a bad idea. I went to the second high school and a lot of girls flirted with me. Yeah. But going into that high school, being 18, freshman year, I had to keep in mind, I can't ask any of these girls out unless they were same grade and age as myself, because I could go to jail. You know, I could go to jail for that, and I could face a lot of time that I didn't want. So doing the noble thing, I didn't ask any girls out. Even though many of them flirted with me, many of them wanted to be with me, I had to keep my guard up. And I'm sure most of y'all understand that when dealing with minors and you are 18 and over. I did. I had to keep my guard up. Because last thing I need on my plate is going to jail for something stupid. And fortunately for me, I passed the grade. I learned a couple other things about living at my grandparents' house. I helped out with my grandfather. I helped make salads. I contributed to, once again, helping out people who were sick. And I enjoyed it. because I got some fun out of it too and some life lessons. I gotta say, I ended up moving back with my adoptive dad and stepmom. And I thought it would be a good idea because my adoptive dad seemed to change his ways a bit. But what I didn't know is it wasn't what I expected. Because there was some things he changed, and then there was other things I was about to learn a hard lesson on. So the day I left from my adoptive dad and stepmom's house, I can recall my grandmother already went with my brother and my grandfather up to Texas. This is the time where my brother and I separated. And it was good for the both of us because we lived together most of our lives and we needed a break from each other. But just when I was done dealing with a pesky brother, and excuse me, my brother wasn't that pesky. I had some faults too, but just when I was done dealing with a brother I couldn't get along with, I had something else coming to me. And it wasn't about to end there. I wasn't about to get my break from being annoyed. You see, God tests you when you least expect it. And I'll tell you one thing. I stayed with my Uncle John until I moved with my adoptive dad and stepmom and my grandmother's house. And I had fun. A little bit of a break, but I had fun. But I'll tell you one thing. My fun and my vacation time was about to come to an end. And that will be in part 7. But I have to say, it's been a pleasure so far. And oh yeah, I did pass the 9th grade with flying colors. And I got principal's honor roll. So, I say this to end it. This has been part 6. Y'all have a nice day, and God bless you. Bye.